Right, are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Right then, guys. Okay, so let me just pop this off. And we've got a few questions in there. Okay, so firstly, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to tune in. My name is Sam Wilkinson. I'm a technology consultant from a company called Elementary Technology. Ruth, you can introduce yourself, of course. I'm sure everybody will know who you are.
I'm Ruth Crampton. I'm currently acting chair of ASLTIP and independent speech and language therapist.
Perfect. Today's webinar is going to be about providing you guys with ideas for your teletherapy sessions. Over the last few months, this has become obviously a crucial part of your environment, given the current circumstances. I hope you are all safe and well at the moment. What happened a few months ago is we partnered with ASLTIP to help them provide better teletherapy sessions using specific technology. Now, I have spoken to Ruth many a times. We are good friends by all accounts now. I'm sure you'll vouch for that. We've come up with plenty of ideas of how we can help you guys improve your teletherapy sessions using such things as visualizers, etc. Ruth's got some really excellent online resource ideas for you today. I just wanted to, again, thank you for taking the time to join us. So I'm going to pass over to Ruth, who is going to start up the presentation. So over to you.
That's great. Thanks, Sam. As Sam said, we're just going to go through a number of slides this afternoon, hopefully giving you a little bit more insight into how you can use teletherapy within all of your different settings that you're working in at the moment. We're going to go through some examples of ways you can use Boom Cards, Simplify, which is an online website, how you can utilize the assessments that are out there, both digitally and also on websites and under a visualizer, and how you can use the resources that you maybe use in face-to-face sessions over the screen. So hopefully you'll get some insight into how I've been running some of my teletherapy sessions over the last 5 months. But also as I'm going to explain to you in a second, I'm a pediatric therapist, so I've utilised a colleague of mine who's in the adult sector to glean some insight into how she's been availing of teletherapy with her adult-based clients as well. So first of all, why is it not moving on? First of all, technical hitch, first of all. So all of a sudden, it does not want to move. Sam,
if you click on it and then maybe try and... is it not moving?
No, it's not moving.
Right, okay, good.
Hang on. Sorry, this is what happens as well during teletherapy. You do get technical hitches. All going according to plan a second ago. Maybe we've got too many people on the line.
Nice, yeah. So maybe if you come out of the share, try and share it again.
Right, hang on me a second. My mouse has now disappeared.
We just got it on the main there. So let's stop your sharing here like so they can just see both of us. So maybe if you can try and get it up in the back.
Yeah. 1 second. Sorry, everybody.
No, it's okay.
Well, the good thing is you can all see that I'm blonde. So you can just take it as that we're having a little bit of a blonde moment, perhaps, at the moment. Right, maybe step 2 or take 2, I should say. Let me see.
Let's give it another
second. Right, let's give that a go now and see if it's going to move on. Let's play from the start. Yes, we're moving on. Sorry, what I was going to say was a little bit more about me. I'm an independent pediatric speech and language therapist, and I've been working for over 15 years. I started in the NHS and then I set up my own independent practice 4.5 years ago. As mentioned at the beginning, I'm currently the acting chair of ASLTIP, and I've been doing that for the last 15 months, which has been a really great it's been a really good learning curve and a really great experience for me, and I'm thoroughly enjoying being able to make connections like this with the likes of technological companies and other services, and doing a lot of work with RC SLT during the lockdown processes at them as well. I'm also the owner of my own business. I run Let's Expand Communication Limited here in Northern Ireland, and get to do some joint working and collaborative working with some of my colleagues in nursery schools and schools and in community clinics as well. I would do a lot of liaison with them. I've also produced my own app on the App Store called Let's Expand Vocabulary, and it's very much for children with word retrieval difficulties. So I love the fact that I've got quite a vast, expansive career to date, and I love being innovative and very creative, and hence why I'm a big advocate for using teletherapy at the moment. So that's a little bit about me. I'm sure you'd love to hear a little bit more about Sam and elementary technology, mind you, as well.
Yes, my name's Sam. I'm a technology consultant at Elementary Technology, and we are trusted technology specialists. So our main focus is education. However, we do a lot of more public and private sector as well. As mentioned, we were approached by ASLTIP to use something called a visualizer to see if it would help during the lockdown process. And it's definitely been successful at the moment. So we have 17 years of experience. We're not just somebody who will approach you and say this will work. We always want to provide you advice, ensuring that you make an informed decision yourself. There's nothing like going away and being able to help a large group of like a specific area, such as speech language therapists, such as yourselves. Now, what we did originally was we went away and checked that we could use visualizers with Zoom, Teams, etc., Google Classroom. There's been plenty of other opportunities and platforms that we've used, and we've done an original webinar specifically on visualizers, which will be accessible after as well. And we went away and found out that it is a huge success. Now, because we partner with all of the big brands, it just allows us to provide some really good pricing, and it also allows us to provide some training for you as well, which I'll show you in a moment. And again, just as mentioned, we've now helped over 100 speech language therapists in the last 3 months, not only just from ASLTIP, but from NHS trusts, independent speech language therapists who, have come across a bit of a stumbling block, given that you can't go face to face to see your clients, whereas something that we can help with a lot, sort of on a technological basis with a visualizer, it's just been really, really useful. And also we work very closely with ASLTIP. So, I'm in regular contact with Ruth at least once or twice a week at the moment to find out how she's been going, how members of the ASLTIP group have been going. And I'm always really appreciative of innovative ideas from speech language therapists about how they've been using their visualizers. So, and that's just a little bit more about myself. So I'll pass it back to you, Ruth.
Great. Let's do it again. Whatever's going on. Oh my goodness.
It's okay. Just jump out and try it again. It's fine. Oh, there we go. Perfect. You've got it.
Oh, moved on. Brilliant. So what are we going to cover today? Whenever I was thinking about today's session, I wondered that if I was in your position, what would I want to know about? So a little bit more about what teletherapy is and why we should offer teletherapy to our clients. What equipment do we need whenever we're offering teletherapy sessions, and why are we using that specific equipment as well? How is it going to ensure that our sessions are successful? I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into how I'm delivering my sessions and what I'm utilising throughout them. And also, as I mentioned, I've spoken to a colleague of mine who is based with adults, so I'm going to share a little bit of her insight as to what she's using with her clients too, and then how our clients and families and other speech and language therapists have adapted to this whole situation of delivering teletherapy rather than face-to-face sessions, and a little bit about my actual plan that I go through in preparation for delivering a session as well. As Sam has mentioned, if you've any questions, we're more than happy to answer those at the end. So hopefully quite a lot of it will be covered throughout the next number of slides, but otherwise I'm more than happy to anything more specific that you might have towards the end. So first of all,
if you click again.
I think there might be a gremlin in my computer.
Yeah, maybe so. Don't worry, it's absolutely fine. Maybe come out of it, go on to the next slide, and then share it again. It's all right, don't worry, it's fine. These things happen. Cool, so I'll stop you sharing, then we'll...
Okay. Yep, here we go. Oh, it's now jumped on too. I love it. Hang on. What's it doing? Oh, sorry, everybody. It's
okay.
2 slides now.
Don't worry, it's absolutely fine.
The joy of trying to do a PowerPoint presentation as well as having everything else in the background. I can't make it. Right, here we go.
Real.
So what is teletherapy and why do we offer it? Basically, as you all know, teletherapy is an avenue we can use to deliver therapy to our clients and some of the kiddies that we're working with, in terms of not having to go into the office, not having them to come into a clinic, not having to go into a hospital setting. All we need is a phone, a tablet or a computer with a good internet connection to deliver therapy sessions. It's really innovative. It can also be very cost effective, and it offers maximum flexibility by overcoming the current barriers that we're finding ourselves in. And by extending these clinical services to our clients, I have found that during this pandemic, it's been really significant for my clients in terms of guaranteeing continued input support for them during lockdown. Also, it's alleviated some of the anxiety my parents have been having with their children who have significant speech and language delays. But in terms of the NHS, it would really significantly reduce your waiting lists for those who are continuing to wait for ongoing therapy or even waiting for a first appointment. And also for any client patients, it would reduce their anxiety as well in the communication difficulties that they're potentially having. So for me, teletherapy has been really positive and a really good step in providing continued therapy for the clients. What equipment have I been using? Well, I've been using lots of computers. I've now got 2 screens, and I'll tell you a little bit more about why I use 2 screens in a second. I've utilised lots of online resources, and it's only when I did my research that I discovered the vast number of resources that are out there for us to use during our therapy sessions. But with Sam's assistance, I've also been able to use tabletop-based activities, which we will talk about in a wee bit more detail. And also with further research, I've discovered there's lots of online assessments, both formal and informal, that we can use to guide our therapy and our therapy plans in terms of aims and objectives as well. And as I said, Sam's been there to help me with the visualizer aspect of things. So why 2 screens? Initially I started with 1, which was great, but then sometimes it can be really tricky. The child can't see what your hands are doing, they can only see your face. If you're only using a webcam, you're having to put things up really close to the screen, which means then they lose the visual with you as their guide. So whenever I've got 2 screens, when that's potentially sometimes the iPad that's connected to my computer, might be my PC with also my laptop, but it can also be the visualizer, which acts as an additional camera for sessions. So all my children can still see my face throughout their teletherapy sessions. I can see them, but they can also see what I'm doing on the iPad or under the visualizer with my objects. If I share my screen with them, they can still see me because I'm on the camera, but they can see, as you're doing right now, you can see what's on the computer screen in front of me. So when we're doing our activities, they have that screen share as well. And as you can see from the slide, it's not to say that it's you cannot just use one monitor, you can, but if you want to utilise to the best of your ability, sometimes it's best to have 2 screens. So Sam's going to share a little bit about how he's learned that visualisers are really supportive to speech and language therapists.
Thank you very much indeed, Ruth. Some excellent points there as well. And back into the slide of things. So for those who were on the original one, you will know a little bit more about this, but for those who aren't, a visualizer is a piece of equipment that's basically like an old overhead projector. And once I've discussed this slide, I'm just going to get Ruth to do a little bit of a demo on hers, which she's been using really efficiently at the moment. So effectively, it's like an old overhead projector. As Ruth says, it's an additional camera that gives you a wide ability to use during your teletherapy sessions. Now, there are 2 ways we can use it. The first way is you can share it as a second camera. So because it's plugged in USB, you whatever you underneath, it will 3D object, board, spoon cards, etc., and it will still show you in good detail, just so your client can see this at their end, as if you were face to face, really. A few key points here are that Ruth's done. You have improved inclusion and access to the same content. With the software that comes with the specific visualizers that we've done for speech language therapists, you have the ability, Sorry, my sound, apologies. I'll see if I can just get a bit closer like that. Can you hear me okay, Ruth? People just the sound. Okay. No problem. I'll try to speak a little bit clearer. So I was just saying that you have the improved inclusion and access to the same content. And with the software that comes with the visualizer, it gives you the ability to record either sessions or outside of sessions, take pictures and take notes, and it will save directly to your computer. Oh, thanks, Sarah. That sounds okay, bro. And this just gives you the ability to include your client and maybe potentially their parents as well. If you have the ability to send them you have been in your sessions, it just gives them the tools to assist you, assist the clients on a daily basis of their current levels. You can use a wide range of therapy tools as well. Basically, this gives you the option to put anything you want under the visualizer. And like I said, we'll show you in a moment. This could be anything from storyboard. We've done one with the same or different 3D objects. I've had, again, some people are getting, some people are saying my sound's breaking up. Give me one second. Let me see if I can sort it. It was okay. Apologies on the sound, guys. Whoa. It's like, okay, I'm sounding a bit, yeah, maybe so. Ruth, you have to take over. So I'm being a little bit glitchy, sorry. People can't. Sorry.
That's okay. As Sam was saying, you can record what you're doing under the visualizer. You can take pictures as you go through, and you can also record a video. And I find that's been really helpful during some of the activities that I've been completing, because I can then send the video through to the parents, and it gives them a really consistent model that they can keep referring back to throughout the week if they want to check if they're completing the task in the same way as I have been doing it. So it's a really nice additional support service, I suppose, having the visualizer beside me. And it also means that I'm not having to try and set up an iPad to record. Additionally, what I'm doing, it's just one click of a button on the computer screen. I have found through having the visualizer, which I only got about 3 or 4 weeks into doing teletherapy, that it really improved the attention and listening skills of the clients on the other end. And one of my parents actually commented after a session how much more her child was listening just based on the visualizer and the fact that she could see my hand moving underneath it, which you'll all see in a wee second. So she was able to engage much easier, and I was able to then ask her to give me specific directions of things that she wanted my hand to do with the objects that were under the camera. And in a sense, because of that better attention and listening from clients, then I've got improved outcomes. So actually we're seeing more progress with all of the children who are accessing the service through me. So it's been really, really beneficial having the additional camera. But I know not all clients will need it. And whenever I spoke to my colleague yesterday, she hasn't availed of a visualizer. She's been using her iPad as her second screen. She's working with adult clients, but she has definitely still found that she's needed that additional screen to share things with her clients and use some of the other resources that we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. So as Sam said, I'm going to see if I can demonstrate for you something that I've been doing with a few of my children underneath the visualizer. Now this is where again it gets quite tech savvy, so I have to change it, and hopefully you can all now see my visualizer. Hopefully you can see my hands moving underneath it. And what's lovely about the visualizer is you've got lots and lots of tools that you can use while you're actually doing your activities underneath. So this is just a simple one that I picked out this morning. I've been working on some WH questions with the child, and we've got some things around the side, as you can see, and I would just be asking the child, where does it go? So what I can do with my finger is actually point to it. I can ask them, first of all, what is it? I can also, if I feel that it's not completely clear, I can make sure it's clear for the child by pressing a little button at the top. And then I can ask the child, what is it? They can tell me it's a kennel. And then I can say, where does it go? And the lovely thing about it is you've got a pen on your visualizer. You can ask the child what their favorite color is, make the pen their favorite color, and then once they tell you that the dog kennel goes in the garden, you can draw a line, make an arrow to the garden. It's as simple as that. The child gets to see everything, excuse me, that you're doing as you go through. They can see my hands moving underneath, but you've also got tools on the computer screen. So I can either do 2D or I can also do 3D as well. So I'm going to show you quickly something 3D that I've got. I've got a silly monkey that I've been using for some of my attention and listening tasks. We've been doing ready, steady, go with the monkey, and the child gets to say go, and then they'll see me press the monkey's hand. A monkey will laugh very loudly, but also move under the screen, so they get to get that feedback automatically. Whenever we're doing an activity, I can also stop the monkey and wait for them to say ready, steady, go again. And for adult clients, what you can also do is use it for their comprehension of reading and writing based activities as well. Sorry, you can also get rid of all the arrows that you've got on your screen, and you can put the likes of words underneath and encourage them to make their sentences. So you can use it just written text, you can use picture text, but again, you can manipulate everything underneath. Your client can still see your face and they can still get that lovely visual feedback from you, but they can also see what your hands are doing underneath the screen. So it's been really, really beneficial for my sessions. So hopefully those therapists from ASLTIP who have already veiled of a visualizer from Sam would agree with me in terms of that as well, just how beneficial it has been. So I'll stop sharing this screen and hopefully be able to go back to the presentation. It hopefully hasn't disappeared too much. So I'm not sure, Sam, if you want to say anything else just in terms of that now, if your sound's working a little bit more.
I'll certainly try my best. I'll just try to speak a little bit more in dialect, so to speak. Apologies, guys, if you still can't hear me. I will be showing something at the end. As Ruth has just kind of demonstrated, it's really simple to use. I will be showing you some pricing at the visualizer at the end as well. We have like 3 options which I will discuss with you, and it's great to see people putting feedback in already to see how useful their visualizer is being currently. That's and I'm more than happy to help with demos, etc. as well. It's something that's really simple to use, really effective for your speech language therapist sessions for your teletherapy. And if you ever need to speak to anybody about using it, there are people in this group who have already put it in the chat now. I love using mine. It's been really great to see so many people helping each other out as well. Yeah, I might be a bit dodgy, sorry, but...
That's okay, sure. I'll keep going. Oh. See. Mine is playing up again. Take 29, let's see. Here we go. Oops, it is like. Right. Definitely have to get very tech savvy whenever you're doing this, let me tell you.
Yes, indeed.
You need another degree, I think. In all of this. What I was going to share with you next is just a few of the online resources that I found really effective during my therapy sessions. So it's not just been the resources that I would use in my face-to-face with kiddies, all the objects, which I'll talk about in a little second, but also there's a wealth of online resources out there which other speech and language therapists have already created for us to utilize during our teletherapy sessions. So we're not reinventing the wheel. There's loads and loads of really, really useful resources out there which have already been created and adapted and meet the needs of the clients that we're actually seeing. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was boom cards. Boom cards have come up in so many different platforms, social media wise, of late, but it's very much a platform that allows us as speech and language therapists to purchase digital activities for our clients. The boom decks, as they're known, are made up of individual digital task cards for our clients to complete specific tasks online. And what's been really lovely about the boom cards from my perspective is that I can set up individual classrooms, and within those classrooms then I can assign my individual clients with their own decks of boom cards to complete at home. So everything is individualized for their specific needs. They also get automatic feedback once they complete a task at home with their parents. And it's been really nice because I get a report back how many times the task has been completed. It's held a lot of my parents to account to actually complete the resources that I have given them at home. And they give me lovely feedback then throughout the week as to how things are going. I've also found that using the boom cards has been really time saving for me, because I just have to flick a button and it assigns it to that child, and then it's automatically in the parents' login details for them just to access as soon as they log on. And again, with boom cards, there's no paper, so we're actually helping the environment too by using these online resources. So I can definitely tell you boom cards are the way forward. Easy to set up an account. The website's up in the corner, as you can see, and at the moment they're doing 3 months free for anybody who registers, and then there's a subscription after that. There's 3 different subscriptions to it, and I think the subscription I signed up to was $15 for a year, which is really, really cheap. And some of the, once you go into the store, quite a lot of those resources can be free that you can use. Some of them you do have to pay for. So it's not that we're having to pay for everything. There are freebies out there. And if you go onto the Teachers Pay Teachers website as well, there's lots of boom cards that have been created by speech and language therapists. And you just have to click on those. Again, some are free, some you pay for, but they'll automatically open up in your boom card account just by clicking on one button. So it's really straightforward. You don't have to sign into it every time. It'll automatically upload as soon as you click on the one that you have purchased or you've downloaded onto your desktop, and then you can delete it from your desktop and it is saved in your boom card account. So I'm a big advocate for boom cards. Lots and lots of lovely resources out there, and actually, although quite a lot of the time they look kiddie friendly, they can be adapted for adults as well. So adults could use some of those, and again, adult clients, you could set up their own little database in terms of that too. The other resource, which has been going around on ASLTIP now throughout lockdown, is being created by one of our ASLTIP members, and I love their tagline. It's Simplify, spelt with a Y, SYMPLIFY, and it's, as I said, designed by speech and language therapists to save your laminator. Basically, to create resources that you would normally make in paper and laminate to give children home, make those resources up on a website, share the website with your clients. You can play games together. They can play games on their own. You can do it throughout therapy, and you can make up your own word lists and create those, again, targeted to each individual client. And again, Simplify are giving away, or letting people sign up for free to try it, and then there's a bit of subscription with them too, which I think from memory, and I know Vanessa will keep me right, is $5.99 a month, or there might also be a yearly subscription in terms of that as well. But I have found that Simplify has been really engaging for the 2-player device game mode, and again, whenever I spoke to my colleague, she is using Simplify with all of her adult clients. She's creating individual games for those who've got a traumatic brain injury. She's been making it with words, with pictures. She's been doing categorization with them. It's been she was really, really positive about Simplify. So again, go and have a look at their website. They've got a lovely YouTube video on their landing page just explaining a little bit more about how you can actually use this to support your clients and to support your teletherapy. And also, you don't need to reinvent the wheel with it. There's lots of resources already on there, creating a database for you to just roll with as soon as you log in. So those are a few of the online resources that I found really, really helpful during therapy sessions. But as I mentioned with the visualizer, you can also use tabletop activities too. You can put your iPad onto the visualizer and use any of the apps that you would normally use with a client in a face-to-face session. You can do that with your adult-based clients or also your children. And the one a few of my kiddies have loved is the Gruffalo app, and I can set it underneath and they can play the Gruffalo game with me, telling me what to do, where to match the pairs, where to put the Gruffalo. And it's great for getting them to provide direction to me, so I'm not always providing direction to them. But as you can see also from the pictures, I would use quite a lot of my objects underneath the visualizer to play games like giving presents to Teddy, Dolly, to different coloured penguins. We'll look and see what's in the box. It's really good for holding their attention because they can see me manipulate things on the table with my hands, as well as watching what I'm doing with my face. And you can use your switch buttons under this to give children and adults immediate feedback as well. So tabletop activities work really well whenever you've got an additional camera beside you. You can also connect your iPad to your computer, and you can utilize it that way. I found, and it could be to do with my internet connection, that whenever I personally did that between my iPads and my MacBook, the connection was quite slow, so there was a wee bit of a delay in between what I did on the iPad and how it came up on the screen for the child. So I have found with the visualizer it's been immediate, so the child can immediately see it move around. So for me, putting the iPad under the visualizer has been much more beneficial, but again, it depends what devices you're actually using. And finally, the big thing that we all need whenever we're working with clients is assessments. And I know one of the questions has come up, and I will answer that towards the end, because as good as I'm multitasking between screens, I'm not so good at reading questions, answering them, and also giving you guidance on the slides that are coming up. So I'll definitely answer that question in terms of assessments if I don't cover it now. But there's a wealth of assessments out there that have gone digital in the last number of months. Assessments for aphasic adults, which you can screen them using your iPad. You can download the app and you will get a wealth of information on there in terms of how to then deliver therapy to those clients. Talc from Elklin have digitalized their assessment. If you've already purchased it, you just need to email Elklin and they will send you the digital version to be able to use on the computer. And Q Global through Pearson clinical assessments are now live as well, and there's a subscription for some of those, but they also write you a lovely report based on the assessments that you have completed. So if you're wanting to do lots and lots of assessments over a period of time, it would be really useful to subscribe to the likes of Q Global and download some of the apps out there that you can actually complete assessments on in terms of working with your clients. I have also found in terms of some of my children that I'm working with, I've been able to use the Teletalk test or some of my object-based assessments, again, because it's under the visualizer. And how I've done that is I've asked parents to have the same objects in the room. So if I'm using a teddy and a cup and a spoon and a key, I will ask parents to have exactly the same object so that their child can then manipulate it in front of the camera and I can see what they're doing and they can see if they match what I've done beside me. So in terms of that, there's lots and lots of different ways of doing things. I know also a few other therapists have put some of their other assessments onto PowerPoint presentations, so they would present it in a PowerPoint format. Which works really well as well. You can obviously be scribing as you're scrolling through the PowerPoint. I personally didn't find the PowerPoint was useful because I already had the pictures for the likes of the RAPT or the Renfrew word finding assessment, and I found the children liked it more whenever I was turning the pictures over and bringing it closer to the camera for them to complete. So sometimes it's a little bit of trial and error, what's going to work, what doesn't work, and just manipulating things to actually suit the clients that you're working with. So hopefully that gives you insight into how I've been running my sessions, how I've been completing assessments, how I've been utilising all the different technology that I'm really lucky to have in and around what has now become my office in the house and not in a clinic. So we're nearly there to the point where we'll be able to answer all your questions and you'll be able to ask us many more. Oh my goodness, I've just looked down. I think there's 45 questions sitting already. So I better rattle through this quickly so we can get through them all. But just in terms, Sam's going to jump in a little bit here as well, hopefully, and help me out. I'm going to speak about how I find the families and how my colleague has found her clients have adapted. And Sam's going to speak about the SLTs that he's been working with over the last number of months and the feedback that he's got from them in terms of using this technology to utilize the sessions. My families have been really positive. Quite a lot at the beginning, understandably, were unsure about how teletherapy was going to work for their individual child. And again, as I mentioned, trial and error came into play, but after 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I decided to get a little bit of feedback from them. And what was lovely was the fact that they were all pleasantly surprised with how their child adapted to the new way of doing therapy sessions. They said that they actually enjoyed the consistency of having somebody during lockdown actually give them insight, give them advice, model to them, give them guidance as to how they should be continuing therapy with their child or children. And they also liked the fact that it was something consistent in their week. quite a lot of my parents have obviously been homeschooling their children and haven't had a huge amount of support from teachers as readily as they've been able to avail of me. And they've been really positive about adapting to this situation, understanding that this could be more long-term as the weeks and months develop. Whenever I spoke to my colleague, she said her adult clients have been exactly the same. They've adapted really well. They've responded to the new form of running therapy sessions. Generally, you will find that the people that you're working with will already have quite a lot of the technology. They'll either have a tablet, they'll have a phone, or they'll have a computer in the house. So for them, they already have some of the equipment there and can adapt quite well to what you're looking for. And I know that from an adult perspective, they have found that it's really helped with their mental health. So their anxiety has been lessened because they've had that consistency with a therapist to support both their anxiety with having a communication difficulty, but also support them in making progress as well. So Sam, you can fire ahead in terms of a speech therapist.
Well, hopefully my sound is okay. The feedback from the speech language therapists we have helped has been short of mental. And if you think 3 months ago you were in a position where you weren't able to provide sessions, and now you can do it effectively, provide engaging content, you can still do assessments, and you can also still provide plenty of different opportunities, different sort of lines of how your sessions will go. I think the main thing that we need to think about is how long is this going to be, how long is this going to go on for? And if you look at maybe travel times, etc., you could still potentially provide an excellent teletherapy session, which would be the same as a face-to-face one. That could save you time and it could save you money as well. Now, I appreciate that this is with visualizers, it is an investment, but like I said, if you're going to potentially pick up more clients because you're creating this better content from the comfort of your own home, you're putting your client at ease and their parents at ease as well, because they know that they're still getting provided a great service, and it's definitely something you should think about taking advantage of. And I do have some pricing points in a couple of slides as well, and we can certainly look at some options for you. So it's been amazing and it's been a great journey, and we'll continue to do so. I fully appreciate that sometimes a session is better done face to face. I've spoke to you quite a few times about that, Ruth, and having that relationship face to face, and have the ability to communicate with somebody of them. But it's a wow factor as well. You are sat at your desk, but you are still providing a top grade teletherapy session. It's going to stand a cut above the rest, really, and it's going to not only save you time, but it's going to massively help you as well. So yeah, it's been brilliant.
Great. And just before we come to our question and answers, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my plan of action that I will run through for all my teletherapy sessions. And what's been, I'm not going to lie, it's time consuming in a sense initially getting all of this set up. I feel like I put much more time and effort in throughout the day. It's hard work sitting in front of a computer screen, which we're not used to doing as therapists. We're used to getting up and moving around, whether that be to clients' homes, whether that be if you're working within the NHS, you're maybe sitting in a clinic, you're maybe going into a hospital setting, you're moving about a little bit more than what you would normally do if you're in front of a computer. But what I found has been really useful is the day before any of my sessions, I've emailed the parents just to advise them how the session is going to run, what they maybe need. As I said, for some of my activities, I'll ask the parents to have their own set of equipment within the house, and potentially I've maybe posted something out and I need to check with them that that's arrived prior to my session taking place as well. So I'll send them an email ahead of time, and also contained within that email will be their link for coming on to Zoom to have a session with me. Before they've agreed to actually do teletherapy sessions, I'll also have got them to send me consent via email that they're happy enough. And I know there's a question around consent, and I have got, I'm happy to share my template of my consent form with anybody who might find that useful as well in terms of using online therapy rather than face-to-face. So we'll have got the consent, we've had that email back and forth, and they've then got their link. And what happens that morning or that afternoon whenever they come on is I will just double check the connection connection, to make sure the sound is working, to make sure we can see each other, to make sure they understand how to log on to their boom cards if it's the first time that we're going to be using that resource, and just make sure everything's working. And then I'll run my session. Sometimes you need to change things in the middle because the child maybe needs to go to the bathroom, which is normal for, or an adult maybe needs to go as well. It's normal for a therapy session because that can still happen whenever you're face to face too. You have to adapt. Perhaps the doorbell goes, so mommy has to run off and answer the doorbell. You know, they maybe have, maybe as Sam had said, you know, a dog jumps in. I've had dogs jumping across the screen. You know, there's been siblings running in behind to say something else has happened in the kitchen or in the bathroom. Mommy needs to go and sort out. So you have to adapt to what's going on during the session. But then I find that at the end of the session, I'm doing a lot more follow-up. So I'm sending through an email advising what we have covered, how it's gone, and then updating parents maybe what additional boom cards I'm adding into their little classroom and their access, what I'm sending out in the post for that week, what I want them to do that I may be sending through as an attachment to an email, just to give them a little bit of guidance so that they haven't had to remember everything that's been discussed during the teletherapy session while dogs and cats and everything is floating around in the background too. And it gives them the opportunity to email me back. I've also set up for virtual summer camps I've been running over this summer, Seesaw, which is an app that schools have been using, and that's been lovely because the parents are able to send me a message directly once they've completed a task, and there's been a really nice link with them. So again, there's lots of lovely services and apps and technology out there that you can use to make things work effectively. And I guess that also means that within that email, I can say what I potentially am thinking about planning for the next week and what I'm hoping they will have done by then as well. So it's work, it's lots of planning, it's lots of preparation, but actually it's really effective. And once you get into the way of doing it, you find that it doesn't take as long to do. It's like everything, it's something new, you need to trial it, you need to see what's happening, and then you get quicker at it the more you do it. So hopefully that's given you all a whistle-stop tour around teletherapy and how we're providing telehealth at the moment. But I guess I wanted to say to you from a conclusion perspective for today, you know, having access to the appropriate equipment is important in the success of teletherapy, but technological necessities are not as daunting as many of you would think. And sometimes we can think we don't know enough about technology, how are we going to do it? You'll find that most people will have equipment already. As mentioned, they'll have a computer, they'll have a laptop, they'll have an iPad, or they'll have their phone. And lots of these apps are now on phones as well. You don't need to have a computer to be able to run them. But in the end, the basic requirements are that computer. Might be a headset if somebody's volume isn't great and isn't working well, or they know there's going to be a lot of background noise going on that's going to be distracting. A webcam, which comes now as standard on quite a lot of computers and laptops. It's also on iPads and other tablets, and it's also, you've got the camera on your phone too, and a good internet connection. It's really important, but everything else is entirely up to you as a professional. You don't have to have a visualizer, you don't have to have 2 screens, you don't have to have a headset to run a teletherapy session. You can still run them really well with the basic equipment that you've got.
Nice. Yeah, so for the people who are potentially open to looking into a visualizer, as mentioned, we've helped over 100 speech language therapists with one. We partner with a company called Ava, and there's a link to a specific ASLTIP website where you will get this pricing just for you guys. Now, I'll put the link in the chat as well so you can access it right away. And just a few little things we're looking at is a good camera, and a good zoom, and a good warranty as well. So there are 3 options there. And as you get a little bit more expensive, you do get better quality and a better camera. Now, the key here is the training and support. I'm sure that there'll be many of you who have bought one, who have done training sessions with myself. As I'm sure you'll back me up here, Ruth. I am more than happy to help you guys as much as I can. I appreciate that sometimes, you're right, it's daunting getting something new, but it's definitely going to help. So what I will do with the M17 and the U70 Plus, we can provide a free half-an-hour training session. So that's one-on-one, me and you on Zoom, where we'll talk through how to set it up, how to use the software, and how to use it in a teletherapy environment. So I'm always open to ideas. I see Neil, you got back to me a few times in the chat about how you've been using yours, which is great to hear. I'm always happy to have ideas thrown at me of, right, I want to use it this way. I will go away and do some research and come back and show you how to do it this way. There was just a question come up, Ruth, actually saying, which one did you get? You got the U50 one,
yes,
which is proving an excellent acquisition, of course. I'm sure you use it all the time. And people have got the other ones, so you've got the U70 Plus one and the M1713M1 as well.
I can also jump in there and say that I've actually used it for family quizzes during lockdown as well. It's been a really good addition to be really clever during family quizzes as well. So if you're still doing the likes of quizzes with family who live all around the world, who you don't have access to at the moment, it's been a really good thing for that, not just for my therapy sessions.
Perfect, no problem. So I will pass that over. I'll put the link in the description. It's got a link to the original webinar with a solely visualizer basis on. We will be sending this one out afterwards as well. And it's got the special pricing on. So if any, my details are at the end, and so Ruth, so if anybody's interested, please email me or call me straight away. So you can jump onto the next one if you want, if it works.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Oh, it's gone again. I have a funny feeling it's maybe whenever I start to answer questions and things that
maybe. I'll stop you sharing.
Yeah, sorry. The next one is literally, let me see. Oops, back. Let me see. Can you share it again, or?
So you're in the presentation.
Yeah, hang on. Sorry. I was starting to answer questions.
Yeah.
Caught out. There we go. That should be it up now.
Perfect. So
it's Q&A time.
Cool. Right. Okay. So massive thank you for listening, guys. I'm sure you can appreciate that was amazing from Ruth, moving your virtual hand. It was absolutely brilliant, very informative. Right, we're going to go through. I've answered a few in the chat individually. I'll just have a look on the Q&A ones first, and then we'll just Anne Franklin, this might be a good one for you, Ruth. I would like to know best protocols in terms of T's and C's for consent and data protection for video therapy to include recording of sessions.
Yeah, and there's no problem. I put together just a template in terms of terms and conditions to send out to my parents. So if you want to email me directly, I'm more than happy to share that with you. I found some information online in terms of what other speech and language therapists were using to make sure it all followed and was GDPR compliant. So if you would like to email me on my chair at Help With Talking email address there, I'm more than happy to send that out to you.
Perfect. Anne Franklin says, can you point me in the direction of online assessments and resources for children?
Yep, as I said, Q Global is amazing for online assessments. You can also find informal online assessments that you can purchase on Teachers Pay Teachers that a lot of speech and language therapists have created in terms of assessing phonology, receptive language, expressive language as well, which you can then download and use within your boom cards. Account as well. So there's lots and lots out there. I would research some of those websites, and you can also create your own informal assessments too, if that's what's helpful. Oops.
The wrong one. There we go. Yeah.
There.
Can you tell me what to do when, sorry, Ruth Phillips, hi Ruth, can you tell me what to do when I want to give the client control of the mouse, but the mouse icon is not showing on the screen? Ruth, the best option you can do is you can do it in Zoom, and you have to do it yourself. So go on to view options, and you then give remote access to your client, then they would have to press yes, and then they will be able to control your screen. So that's how you would do that. Helen says, are you recording this afterwards? Yes, we are. That's great. Thanks, Rachel, for that. Dawn. Sarah Winfield, may I have a copy of the presentation too? Absolutely. If you want to get in touch with either myself or Ruth, we will be more than happy to send you it over straight away, and that's fine. Jenny Pigeon, Sam, do you have any guidance on what is a good internet connection? A little bit, Jenny. Basically, if you're on Wi-Fi, and this is probably why my sound's a little bit, we've got a few more people back in the office now, but if you're on Wi-Fi, make sure that you've got as little connections on as possible, and so it's just kind of focused on your computer, even your phones, etc. If you think 5 or 6 people in your house, it's going to be expressing your bandwidth quite large. Or if you feel like you need to do this moving forward, I would advise looking at potentially getting a network wire as well, so you are effectively hardwired into your computer, which will then boost your speed. So I hope that answers that. Laura Whittle, a copy of the presentation would be great, no problem at all. Laura, could you get in touch with one of us and we will send you it straight away. This is for you, Ruth, from an anonymous attendee. I would be interested to know how you have been assessing preschools, please.
I've been using, as I said, the Teletalk test, but I've also been using online assessments to assess them over a period of time. As I said, if it's to do with objects, then I would have the objects at their disposal, ask their parents to get the objects in the room. And I guess there's been a little bit of manipulation in terms of which assessments can I use, which objects are parents likely to have in their home. A lot of it's been informal rather than formalized, though, to be able to manipulate that. As again, if you want to email me, I'm more than happy to share the specifics of what assessments I've been using from Teachers Pay Teachers and also from Boom Cards as well.
Perfect. Anonymous attendee, do you need 2 screens to use a visualizer? No, you do not. So effectively what you would do in Zoom is there is an option for you to advance and then share content from your second camera. This will then give you the visualizer image, and it will also give you the option for your client to see you as well. I would advise, if you go onto the ASLTIP elementary page, the original webinar about visualizers shows you how to use it effectively. Okay. Anne-Marie, I have a visualizer, but if using it through Zoom, the client can only see the visualizer, not me. I think I did answer that, but that effectively would be the same. You would share the content from your second camera and you would still be able to see each other, which is obviously very crucial from what I've learned from Ruth. Tracy Thompson, hi, could I get the presentation as well to share with colleagues? Absolutely. Tracy, contact me or Ruth, and we have a list actually, don't we, of people who want the presentation. That's fine. Anonymous attendee, for independent speech and language therapists providing teletherapy to schools, are you charging per day or per pupil?
I think that depends on the speech and language therapist, and I guess it depends how it's being paid for as well, whether it's being paid by the parents or whether it's being paid for by the school. It's something you probably need to negotiate more than anything else. It's not something I am providing through schools, so I don't have experience of that, but some of my colleagues might. So if you want to email me, I know 2 of the board members that work with me on ASLTIP both provide into schools and have been offering teletherapy, so I'm more than happy to put you in contact with them to have a further discussion if that would be helpful.
Perfect. Hi, Hannah says, hi, has anyone done any AAC therapy via teletherapy?
I personally haven't, Hannah, but I'm sure there's a wealth of speech and language therapists out there who probably are. It might be worthwhile if you want to email me. I'll see if I can put you in touch with anybody. I've got lots of connections in terms of social media, so I can put it out there for you to see who's doing teletherapy for AAC clients.
Perfect. Jackie Holden asks, will a visualizer work with a Chromebook? Yes, it will. If you have anything with a USB connection, you can plug it straight in and it will work easily. And of course, with the training, I can show you how to do this. Susanna Thompson, is anybody using Google Classrooms? Susanna, yes, I've had 5 or 6 speech language therapists who are using Google Classrooms, and again, you can use the visualizer with that as well. So there's so many different platforms. We've done WebEx, Jitsi, Google Classrooms, there's so many different ones, and they're all pretty much the same. But again, I'm more than happy to go and test them for you to see if they work, but they usually, of course, do. Ruth, this is for you from Carol. Hi Ruth, what kit do you expect parents to have? Which platforms do you use? I am using Zoom as my main teletherapy platform online. Parents have been sending videos of potentially stammering children to me via WhatsApp, which I have a look at and then I delete immediately. So I'm using both of those platforms, also email as well. As I mentioned, I'm using the likes of Boom Cards, Simplify, all of those for online resources. It's really your own preference, Carol, and what I would say is even go on and do a bit of trial around them all. Most of my colleagues are definitely using Zoom rather than Skype or rather than Google Meet.
or Google Teams, any of those. And I know that trying out a few of them, Zoom definitely had the better quality when it came to sound and visuals as well. So that's the one I have stuck with.
Perfect. It's from Dawn. Have you tried the green screen options? Some of them look great fun and thinking of going down that route too.
Dawn, some of my colleagues have been doing amazing things with green screens. I actually saw one of them yesterday, had a massive mouth on a green screen behind her, and on all the teeth she had different images that the child had to say, and then she had created on a stick a toothbrush and said that all her teeth were dirty and the child had to clean her teeth, and as they cleaned a tooth had to say what they could see. It was amazing, so creative, but I personally haven't gone down that route yet because I just haven't had time. So it also depends how creative you want to be and how much time you've got. As Sam and I have mentioned, there's so many resources out there that we can utilize and avail of, and if you look on other people's Facebook pages, there's lots of closed groups out there you can join as a speech and language therapist. There's lots of on Instagram speech and language therapists who are using teletherapy all the time and can give you some really lovely ideas.
Real. Joe Clark says, how do you support parents who will not use Zoom or visual contacts? I find it very difficult to be effective via a phone.
I can't really answer that, Joe, because all of my parents are quite happy to use Zoom. So it's hard to kind of answer because I don't know. I don't have the first-hand experience of it. And I'm wondering if anybody else does and could maybe, you know, give an answer to that question. All of my parents have been more than happy to use this platform with me. Perfect.
Jackie Holden, what percentage is out of that? It's 20%. Hope that answers that. Lilius Jeffrey, I already have Simplify, which I think is brilliant. Do you know of any similar online interactive websites aimed at secondary or older children?
Well, in terms of Simplify, I know that you've obviously got it already, Lilius. It obviously is adaptable to adult clients as well, so it just depends how, I suppose, you change the activities that you're creating on Simplify. If you go into Boom Cards, you can get activities that are for older children. Secondary level too, and also if you go onto the Teachers Pay Teachers website, you can actually put in the age range or the school year of a child or a young person that you're working with, and it'll bring up those resources that are applicable to that child or the older young person as well. So it might be worthwhile having a look at Teachers Pay Teachers.
Perfect. That's grand. Alice McCann, could I get a copy of the slides too? Yeah, Alison, if you email myself or Ruth, we will get them over to you straight away. I see that people have already started email making requesting. That's absolutely fine. Dawn says, Ruth, have you used the green screen options with Zoom?
Not as yet, Dawn. That's on my to-do list. Maybe I'll get a bit of time later this month or even in September to start trying green screen. But I know there's so many options on there. And also within the visualizer, you've got a whiteboard option, which means you can be really creative as well. You can have 2 screens on there. So if you do decide to go down the visualizer route, have a look at the webinar that Sam did a number of months ago on the ASLTIP website. And that means that you'll be able to see more of the details within using the visualizer during your sessions as well.
Perfect, yes. Lucy Cox, was the app Ruth mentioned called Seesaw?
Yes, and it's free as well. You can set it up. There's no cost with Seesaw. It just asks you to be a teacher rather than a speech therapist, which is grand. And again, you can set up classrooms within it. It's brilliant because you can share specific activities. You can write notes to parents. You can put an activity and put additional notes underneath it. You can upload videos on there of how you're actually continuing that activity at home, and then the parents can send you back videos of their children doing it as well. Again, it's end-to-end encrypted Seesaw. All the schools that I know are using it and have been using it over lockdown as well.
Perfect. Anonymous attendee, does the visualizer work on a 2011 iMac? Yes, it does. And we have software that is Mac compatible. Ruth's got a Mac as well, which she uses. So I would just effectively send you a different driver to use and you would get the software right away. Rachel Jepson, can you share experiences working with children with social and pragmatic difficulties remotely? Ooh, good question.
Yeah, really good question. Oh, yeah, it's been interesting. I think they have loved the kind of the technology side of things. Quite a lot of mine have been really into that. I guess it's been trial and error with them, and a lot of working with parents, and it's been effective socially for them. They've enjoyed coming online, and I suppose I've given them tasks to do specifically. There's a lovely, and it was free at the time, again on Teachers Pay Teachers, where it's an online show and tell. And I have found that that's been really useful for the kids, where they get to show and tell me about something. So we're then utilising their social skills and their pragmatic skills and encouraging them to have good eye contact. You know, they're waiting for their turn. I'm asking them a question. They're telling me something back about some favourite toy, favourite activity, to the point where a little boy has wanted to do it. He's asked me, can he do it every single session? And I am now much more knowledgeable about hyenas and crocodiles and alligators, and the last one was anteaters. So my knowledge of animals has gone up completely over lockdown, just because that's what he's been telling me about during show and tell.
Perfect. Victoria Blackburn, which visualizer would you recommend when starting up? It's each to their own, really, Victoria. Ruth's got the U51, which has been great for her. I found that people who are in maybe more rural areas, etc., are more beneficial with the U70 Plus or the M17, just due to the camera quality. I've just put the link to the ASLTIP elementary partner page with the original visualizer webinar on that I did for you guys, and that's on there, plus the pricing and a bit of information on each. And Victoria, if you want to reach out to me direct and we can discuss it over the phone, I'd love to know a little bit more about how you want to use it, and then I can help you make an informed decision and recommend one that way. Jane, Chris, this is for you. Ruth, how would you assess adults with learning disability?
How would you assess adults with learning disabilities? Again, not my area of expertise, Jane. It's been a while since I've worked with adults with learning difficulties, and I'm just wondering if there's anybody else on this session today maybe has a little bit more experience with that. And I think in terms of assessing them, you would need to go and see what assessment tools are out there that you can avail of that's going to work with them. The likes of a simple thing, like, as I said, I have the Teletalk test, which is penultimately from kids, and I would use it with them, but the resources inside that would probably work with adults with learning difficulties as well. There's pictures in there, there's verb cards, there's objects to follow directions, and you can score them up too. So I think it's just very much looking to see what you can access that's going to work for them. But I'm so sorry, it's not my area of expertise at all, and I've had no experience doing it during teletherapy.
Cynthia asks, how can I access the first training session you did a while ago? Cynthia, I've just put it in the chat to everybody, so you should be able to access it that way. Again, there is the original visualizer webinar for speech language therapists, pricing, and a bit of information on each with my details as well. Annette says, can you use a visualizer with Attend Anywhere? Yes, you can, Annette. I've helped 5 or 6 speech language therapists with it on Attend Anywhere, and it's been very successful for them. I'm more than happy to reach out to them if you would like a bit of a referral to see how they're getting on. Email me and I can get that sorted for you. Hannah says, thank you, no worries. Anonymous, did you say Boomcast has a free trial? I cannot find this.
Okay. It was a free trial. I think it still is. Did you, oh, Craigie, whoever Anonymous is, if you want to email me, I will send you through the link that I used. I'm so sorry, because I've got the screen on at the minute, I can't get onto the internet to obviously find you the link that I had. So if you would like to email me at the email address that's up, then I'll send you through the link that I found. Perfect.
Anonymous again, do you charge for delivery? Is training supported opt-in or opt-out? Yes, delivery is £9.50 standard. If you didn't want the training on the basic one, if you could let me know, I can arrange a price for you, but I'm sure that Ruth will back me up. I would highly recommend getting the training session. It's obviously quite important, but again, if it is something that you don't want, I can certainly sort it out for you, but the training includes how to set it up. You know, it's a solid half-an-hour session getting around how to work things and how it can help you teletherapy sessions. And again, I'm more than happy to come back and give you a refresher session when needed.
And I think the good thing, sorry, I'm just going to jump in there a second, because I obviously did the training session with you. It was really useful because it meant that Sam directly sent me the link to be able to download the software. I didn't have to put the disk. I don't have a disk drive on my MacBook. So it meant that I didn't have to use the disk. He just sent me the link, whether it's a MacBook or whether it's a PC that you're using. And then as soon as you download that link, everything gets set up for you automatically. And he then was able to just take me through all the specifics that are on the visualizer. Let me trial it while he was on the line and on the screen, could see what I was doing. And then it meant that if I had any difficulties later on, it was easy for me just to go back and say, well, look, I did try it this way. I maybe forgot to press a certain button. Could you just remind me what I'm doing?
And now you teach me, don't you? Georgina Wilbot, can an iPad work well to do tabletop activities, do you think?
An iPad.
I'm just thinking you hold, maybe it's a little bit difficult. Yeah.
You're holding it up. It just depends, I suppose, how many pairs of hands you've got more than anything, Georgina. So it depends if you want the child to be seeing you manipulating the iPad, or whether you would rather have something underneath that your hands are moving around and they can still see you on screen. Again, it's a bit of trial and error more than anything else. I have just found that for me, I now use the visualizer much more than the iPads, and it's been really, really helpful. And because you're not having to press as many buttons, everything's on your computer screen, so you're not having to switch between the iPads and the computer. You control your visualizer from your computer screen, so everything's still in front of you.
Just to kind of add a bit of a note on that, check out the link to the original one, which is solely on how it helps, how a visualizer helps in SLT. That's really in depth. It's about 25 minutes long, but next one, question. Ruth, was that app called Seesaw from Lucy?
It was, yes, Lucy, Seesaw. Just Google Seesaw app.
Perfect. Anonymous attendee, how can we improve the sound quality at the client's end? This is getting in the way of the session quality. It's a bit of a tough one, really. It all depends on their setup. There's not much you can do at your end unless you recommend maybe if you get a visualizer, each visualizer has a built-in microphone as well. If you check out the original webinar, it will show you that you might be able to get a better sound quality out of that. But maybe look at getting your client to get some cheaper speakers or something, just standalone speakers is probably my advice. And if your laptop, speakers aren't that good. Victoria says, hi Victoria, she was one of the first people who I helped, hope you're well. I'm not quite sure what you mean about how you use two screens. Can this be demonstrated? I use a visualizer which I got from Sam and I love it.
I don't have them both hooked up at the minute, Victoria, to be able to show you how I use two screens, sorry, because I'm using because I have the visualizer hooked up and I was planning to use that this afternoon, but definitely I could create a bit of a video and send it through to you if you want to email me. I can show you how I've been using two screens, but to be honest with you, I don't use the two screens as much at the moment because a lot of my kiddies prefer the visualizer, so it just depends on individual clients.
Alexandra asked, Ruth, have you found the microphone quality is okay for speech sound assessments on the visualizer? I
have, yeah. I have. I might just sometimes, Alexandra, need to turn the volume up a little bit just to do with quiet sounds more than anything else, but also because you can see the child, you get that visual reinforcement as well. And sometimes you might actually have to get them to repeat a sound, but there's a lovely boom card assessment which is phonology based, and the child, because you're sharing the remote control with the child, they can move the things around and they're talking about them at the same time, so you can hear the speech sounds coming through as they're doing that.
Yvonne asks, Ruth, have you found the sound quality for speech sound work? Sorry, how have you found sound quality for speech sound work using Zoom?
I have found it okay, but again, I think it depends on the internet connection and what the quality of the volume is, or what the sound is like generally between you and the client. But for me, I haven't had any issues whatsoever. Perfect.
Anonymous, how can we see a recording of this session today? I'm going to format it into a YouTube link. If you email me and ask for a copy, I have 15 requests already. The people who have emailed from the details. So if you get in touch with me or Ruth, we'll probably get it formatted by tomorrow and we can send you over straight away. Next up, Bradley asks, have you had any experience of using any formal assessments such as the CELF or ACE 6 to 11 online via Zoom or with school-aged children?
Not during teletherapy, I haven't, but I know, again, you can do the KELF online with Q Global, so you can actually do it with your kiddies. I'm not sure about the other assessment, whether or not it's online, Bradley, but it might be worthwhile looking on the Pearson assessment website just to see what you can actually use with your clients in terms of formal assessment and what you can avail of. And sometimes the likes of Pearson, if you contact them, a lot of companies are actually giving free opportunities to trial these new pieces of equipment online for even a week sometimes, and they'll give you a trial of it to see if before you want to purchase it. So it might be worthwhile contacting them directly.
Caroline, can I have a copy of the presentation? Yes, of course, Caroline, reach out to myself or Ruth and we will get you the slides sent over. Hannah Wallace, my MacBook doesn't have a USB port. Is there a wireless option? Hannah, yes, there is. If you could contact me direct, I will show you the wireless option and how it works. I actually have one in the office and I can show you it as a bit of a live demo. Alternatively, we can get you an adapter for your USB-C to USB, so we can fit one of the ones originally, but it's entirely up to you. Please contact me so I can help you. It's really simple to do. Laura Franklin, can you use with Microsoft Teams? Yes, you can. We find a lot of schools use visualizers with Microsoft Teams. It's a very similar thing to do like you would on Zoom. You can effectively load the software up, share it on your screen, and you will still have the controls of the rich annotation features that Ruth showed earlier and that's on the first session of the webinar solely on visualizers. So yeah, absolutely. Sarah Watson, is sound quality generally okay for speech sound assessment? We said yes.
Yes.
Anonymous, are there clients that you would recommend face-to-face for over teletherapy? Do you see yourself using both teletherapy and face-to-face in the future?
Yes, I do. Actually, I'm hoping, because I'm independent, I had a lot of clients coming to the clinic that I had set up from all over Northern Ireland. And I know that those that were maybe traveling for an hour and a half to come and see me are going to kind of avail of teletherapy to save them that time in the car with their little ones. So it's definitely something that I'm going to continue, is keep on a number of teletherapy sessions and also do face-to-face. And as I mentioned, throughout the session, you know, families have been really pleasantly surprised, and some of them, you just need to show them how it works first of all, and even do a trial session with a parent for 10 minutes to show them how to set everything up can be really beneficial as well prior to even doing a session with their child. Perfect.
Dawn has been a legend in saying that she's had the visualizer training and she'd highly recommend it. Thank you, Dawn. That is very, very kind of you. That's brilliant. Anonymous, yes, we do charge for delivery. It's £9.50 and it will be with you within a couple of days. Annette Smith, how easy is it to set up 2 computer screens and a visualizer? In my opinion, it's really easy. Effectively, what you're doing is you are just extending your desktop, so you've got 2 screens. The USB is really simple. Sorry, the visualizer is really simple to set up because it's a USB. You plug it in and it's ready to go. Again, Annette, if the visualizer option is something you're looking at, if you go with the training, I will literally help you set it up from out of the box to plugging it in to installing the software. You know, within a few. All my SLTs within a few weeks are confident in using it, and if they ever need me, they know that I'll be there straight away to help them. So it's very easy to do. Sarah Harvey, great question. What does a visualizer offer that a phone on a tripod doesn't? You can't get the software that you can get with the visualizer. Now, Ruth will vouch for me here, the software is really critical for creating the engaging sessions. You can do things like split screen, you can record video, you can use a presentation tool to cover up specific bits for cognitive overload. You can also annotate over the top. You can give your clients control of the annotation so they can do it themselves. So it's like the face-to-face. You can zoom in on specific areas and get that really finer detail. It's just a much better option than a phone, really. And again, if you jumped into the first webinar that we did via the link that I'll put in the chat, you will see that firsthand. Again, Sarah, drop me a line. I'd be more than happy to show you personally as well. Next one. Thank you. People saying thanks. No worries. That's saying thanks as well. Here we go. Do you find that some parents now want more face-to-face sessions rather than Zoom?
No, actually. I think it depends where you are, and I also think it depends, you know, what they're thinking is around COVID at the moment. So some families are happy for me to start going into their homes, depending on what I'm wearing. And I've obviously shared the Royal College guidance with them in terms of the fact that we can start to do face-to-face sessions again. But also I am finding that my preference is still a little bit of teletherapy at this stage, because I don't want to necessarily go into a home and be a carrier of something that I've maybe brought from somebody else's home and not realised it. So I think it's just even playing it safe and advising them of what the guidelines are from college at the moment in terms of face-to-face, and ultimately they're still promoting teletherapy at this stage. What I should also say is, I think as speech and language therapists, we're probably playing catch up. In Australia and America, they've been offering telehealth to their clients for years upon years, and it's all very second to nature to them. They do offer it, and even people who are in the islands above Scotland, speech and language therapists have been offering telehealth to those clients. So we're just playing catch up now because we're having to not be offered those face-to-face sessions. So I think if you look at all the resources that have been presented this afternoon, hopefully you'll find that as you advise your clients of what you can do on screen, they'll see the benefit of that and see that it's actually very worthwhile.
Amy Coleman says the training is well worth it. Thanks, Amy. That's awesome. You're very kind. I remember. That is all of the questions. There was all of the 70 questions. Right, guys. I hope you have found that very informative today. Thank you very much again for joining. We're probably going to end it in a second, so just a bit of a reminder. Anything you want to know on the visualizer front? Oh, we've got another question. It's okay. Carol, is ASLTIP aiming to provide a search feature for therapists who specialise in teletherapy?
Yes. As you know, Carol, I'm assuming you're an ASLTIP member because you've asked that question. As you know, we're going into phase 2 of the website build, so it means we can make a few tweaks in terms of phase 1. So yes, we'll be adding that into the specialist areas. I think you'll find a lot of therapists will now be adding that in as their specialism too. So no, great question, but yes, that is coming.
Perfect. We've got number one. People, I was just getting people saying thank you now. So that's great. No problem, guys. Oh, we've got another one here. Brilliant. That's great. No worries. Just people saying thank you. So just a reminder, any visualizer information you need, please contact me. My details are here. I see I've got 25 emails so far. So
bye.
You know, things like this are a dime a dozen, especially with a free resource for somebody who's a very experienced and amazing speech language therapist who partner with a technological company who can provide a service to help you with your teletherapy sessions. So again, we're going to end it now. So thanks very much for joining. No problem, guys. Thank you, Ruth. I'll drop you a meeting request in about 2 seconds. All right.
That's okay. That's fine.
Real. No worries. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody.
See you later.